Welcome to the second episode of the Bulletin Podcast for the Brandt School of Public Policy at the University of Erfurt. I'm your host, Maria Bracken, and my goal is to interview the fascinating students and researchers from the Brandt School and to hear experiences and voices from all over the world. My guest today, Andrew Aris, is an alumnus of the Brandt School who lives and works in Erfurt. Originally from New Zealand, Andrew studied business at Notre Dame in the US and worked in the banking industry before pursuing a degree in public policy. Following his MPP studies, Andrew set up an NGO called Spirit of Football to harness the power of football for global education projects. In his daily work, Andrew organizes learning projects in schools, orphanages, and communities, running fair play football tournaments and traveling to World Cups and European Championships. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Before we talk football, I'd like to ask a bit about your personal background and your early influences. As a young person, did you ever express an interest in the news or international affairs at all?
Yeah, I think I did. I was always interested in history, geography, also somehow connected to football because I grew up in New Zealand and both my parents are not from New Zealand. My mum comes from Liverpool in England and my father is from Glasgow in Scotland. And with those influences of cultures far away, I quickly got to know the world. I remember with my dad, my brother and I, we would have geography quizzes growing up, and often also connected to football and the World Cup. And from a very young age, I got to know the world, geographically speaking, and ever more historically speaking as well. So I was always interested in that.
So you sort of grew up in an international context to begin with?
Totally, yeah. My parents, they arrived in New Zealand in the 60s on a boat, or boats, different boats, met in New Zealand. And their circle of friends were also young people from Ireland, Scotland, Wales, but also from other countries, from Holland, from Germany. And they were a very international group. So through my parents and their network of friends, then I also became more globalized than the average New Zealander, I think.
And as a young person in school, do you remember a particular teacher or a class that inspired you?
Good question. Maybe at a bit later date, I think one that now is maybe more relevant than ever was German history class, 20th century German history, which planted some seeds in me and a real interest in especially World War II history and so before that the Weimar Republic, and afterwards, of course, the divided Germany and the reunification of Germany. It was a crazy century in German history, which was really interesting for me, and it planted a seed that I would like to visit, the idea that I would like to visit Germany at some point.
Sounds like a class I'd like to take as well. It's very interesting. And so you've been involved in football, that's soccer for any American listeners, from a very young age. When did you start playing?
I think there was a ball at my feet from the moment I could walk. And because my dad brainwashed me into loving football, as often parents do, especially fathers, I think, with their sons. But I think that's probably changed now too, mothers and fathers with their children. And I grew up being a fan of Liverpool and Glasgow Rangers and just playing football anywhere and everywhere possible.
Slightly unusually, you did continue to play football through your university years at Notre Dame. How did you balance sport and your schoolwork?
That was difficult because the academic challenges at Notre Dame is an academic institution. It's a tough school, a tough university. And I learned pretty quickly in my first semester, came to a point where it was like, hey, your grades are not good enough. I had an academic advisor, which was quite useful. And she pretty quickly started getting reports that, Andrew, has some issues here. He needs to work harder. He needs to focus on his academics, and it was pretty clear. Okay, football comes at an equal level, or even the academics are more important. And I quickly grasped that and just had to put in extra time there. It was very difficult. It was full. The academic program is challenging at the University of Notre Dame, and the athletic program is challenging. And you travel a lot for football, so you miss seminars and you have to catch up on that. And it's especially in the fall season, so with pre-season in August and then September, October, November, December as the season, your challenge from the time commitments are really complex. You're often away, you're often traveling, and you have a lot of homework to do, a lot of studying to do, a lot of work to do for the academics and group work, and it's just that balancing act. So it was certainly a learning curve.
What kept you going? Was it love of the sport?
Well, I had a full ride. I was a full scholarship. I mean, I played soccer at a high level in New Zealand. I played for the national team at an under 20 level and under 23 level, and played in the top league in New Zealand. It's not a professional league, it's an amateur league, but the national league as a youngster. And I saw that I was a talented footballer and I wanted to continue playing, and I had the opportunity in the US to study and play at the same time. So it was it was a good but very challenging fit.
You'd mentioned Liverpool and Glasgow as teams that you follow. Are you a football fan at the moment? Do you support any particular teams?
I support Liverpool. I will always support Liverpool. And I was fanatical about football for many, many years. And I have to say, actually, and that's maybe surprising for a lot of people that meet me, that I've become much less of a fan of football. I've become actually very disgruntled with, just take for example the transfer of Neymar, over 200 million euros, the transfer of one player and the wages that these players are earning, and they very quickly then will, even if they have a 3 million euro per week contract, they'll still very quickly leave a club for a better offer somewhere else. So it just feels like that football has gone in a direction that it's just crazy and doesn't represent the world that we live in. And I find it much more difficult to watch that. I very seldom will sit down and watch a professional game of football, either live or on television. I've just lost the appetite for that. I feel it just doesn't make sense in our world that we're living in today, that sort of stuff is going on.
Well, here's the $10 million question, or perhaps it should be much more than $10 million. What is it about football that is so good at bringing people together?
Yeah, well, that example that I gave of the professional game, and there are many aspects, maybe to start to say there are a lot of things about football that I don't like. That I don't like the corruption, I don't like the violence, I don't like the ridiculousness of marketing and sponsoring and the money machine that football has become. I don't like what the World Cup does to the communities in the host countries. What I love is that it's a simple game, that it's played in every corner of every community in our world. It's so global. It connects people. It can bring people together. You can just share a game with people, have a kick with people without... It doesn't matter about the color of the skin. It doesn't matter about religion. It doesn't matter about the certain things that often tear people and communities apart. Football really can bring people together, and it is a global language. It's a universal language, and I love that part of it. And that's what Spirit of Football is about, this positive part of football. The positive parts, there are many wonderful elements of football, that boys and girls can play together. All those things that I just mentioned. Football has such a power, like nothing else. Maybe the only thing that you could compare it with is music. That music has the ability to unite people, and football has that capacity.
And what have you learned about yourself through years of playing football?
With maybe less so playing football, I think, I've learned that I can just be free on the football field at times when it's played in the right way. Often it's not played in the right way, and I feel agitated and aggressive. But when it's played in the right way, where people respect each other and the ball is passed around, then I feel just this empowerment, this freedom, this like good vibes of football. And about myself in terms of the ball journeys and the spirit of football, I've just realized that I don't. My goal is not like a Donald Trump goal to become a multi-billionaire. My goal is not to make vast amounts of money or to buy a house or to have stuff. My goal our goal with Spirit of Football is just to live in a way where people respect each other, where they complement each other, where they build each other up rather than cutting each other off, and community where people can achieve a lot more when they do it together, and that community is a global community. That community is is that people with different traits, from different places, with different religions, with different beliefs, can really come together and learn from each other, and you can have you can build a beautiful community. And I think that one can build through football in a way. That's what we're aiming to do with Spirit of Football, at least.
Andrew, you studied business when you were at Notre Dame, and then you worked in the banking industry in Amsterdam and New Zealand. What was this experience like? And in particular, why did you decide to leave a lucrative career to go back to school and study public policy?
I think that you have to learn about yourself as well. You have to do things and go through experiences that are challenging, and to really do things maybe as well that you don't necessarily like. And I realized that I think again it was this idea I wanted to make money and to become something of myself, that other people had in their eyes and so that my study at the University of Notre Dame, for example, and my academic background as well. I think in New Zealand I went to a very sort of elite boys' school. It was that the success is the stuff that you have. Success is the money that you have in the bank. Success is the car that you drive and the bling bling, and that's sort of our materialistic capitalistic world. And I was in that, and I was in this banking world, and just feeling like, A, I'm not good at what I do. B, I'm probably not good at it because I don't want to do this. I would have nightmares about going to work, and at the end of the day, I was like, this has to end. Like, this. Why are you doing this? Like, who are you doing this for? You're not doing it for yourself. And I decided I wanted to study again, and just to find the things that I wanted to do with my life in terms of work. Work is a pretty big, significant part of one's life. And if you're not working on the stuff that makes you tick, that makes you happy, then maybe you shouldn't be working on... Especially, we are born into... we have many more chances. Anyone that is studying public policy at the University of Erfurt has many more chances than in life than a lot of other people, than most other people. Like, we're very, very lucky, and we're then also stupid, I think, if we don't use that good fortune to do good stuff for ourselves and for others. Like, if we end up in this sort of capital race, this materialistic race, then we're the losers, and other people are the losers as well because of that behavior. So I think we have the chance to change things, and that's why I wanted to study public policy too, was to get the tools, the skills to be able to make change, but not make change on a global level, really at a local level. Yeah.
That's so interesting, because I myself left a career in the financial industry as well to study public policy, so a lot of what you've said has resonated with me. You studied public policy at University of Erfurt. This was between 2003 and 2005. Mm-hmm. Do you have any abiding memories of the Brandt School from that time? That was quite early days, I believe, for the program.
It was my first year was the second year of the program, the Erfurt School of Public Policy, the ESPP back then. And I was young, and I found that the program gave me a lot of flexibility, which I wanted, time to discover what I wanted to do. That was my goal, was to use those 2 years to develop myself and to start my own stuff. I didn't know at that point what that would be, but I wanted to find my way. And I found that the school gave me that, and there was, we had a class group of 18 students from 13 different countries. It was, and now I know that the dimension is a bigger group with students from more countries, but it was just fantastic to more than anything, I think that I enjoyed the time that I had there to connect with my fellow students and to talk with a Kweku from Accra in Ghana, or Sundaram from Chennai in India, or Olga from Siberia in Russia, like the Juliana from Colombia. That's what makes the university program so unique. I think also in some ways like world unique. I don't think you're going to get too many other spaces like that where you can really connect. And I think that to me was a huge part of the study, was connecting with those people that I studied with.
Did you have a favorite professor or class during your studies?
Good question. I don't know if I would remember one class that stood out above all others. I enjoyed the time with Heike Grimm, more also on a private level as well. Like I think that was one of the nice things. It was the connections were very easy. Like it's not a huge administrative network that you have to get through. So the doors were open, and it was easy to come up with ideas and to meet people and to connect with people. So I wouldn't say there's one class that really stood out. Was more, again, that in general what I feel is that the network possibility of the program, whether that was with the staff or with the fellow students.
I'd like to ask you just one last question about your studies. Your master's thesis sounded very interesting to me. It was called How the City of Erfurt Can Use the 2006 FIFA World Cup to Stimulate Economic Growth. So it seems like already you had a strong focus both on football and also on the local context. What inspired you to pursue this topic, and what did you conclude?
I did a internship at the DFB, the German Football Association, and in that internship I actually had the idea, okay, my master's thesis started to take shape, was like, Erfurt is actually the geographical center of Germany. The World Cup is going to be there. There are these host cities all around. Fans are going to have to be traveling, and the fans could come to Erfurt. It could be a base, and that this could be a chance as well to create an impulse for international tourism. If the region, Thüringen and the city of Erfurt, had their heads on properly, I thought, okay, and I would like to do something with international fans, to bring the fans together and to create sort of a program in the city where the fans could participate and we could network with international fans. That was the idea, and some things did happen. It was a massive learning curve, and as part of that, I thought, well, I've written about this, about how a city can develop itself through openness, through integrating different community aspects, LGBT community, to bringing in innovative, creative people together to develop a city in another way. That was another idea of that. I thought, well, I've got these ideas, and I'm actually not really the theorist. I'm a practical person, and the practical part was getting people together and founding Spirit of Football. And what happened from that thesis was the ideas, a collection of ideas that were the springboard to the foundation of Spirit of Football in 2005 and to whatever is going on now with Spirit of Football today.
Very heartening as a first-year student to hear that your master's thesis can contribute directly to the establishment of such a wonderful organization. So this was in 2005. Since then, you've been president of Spirit of Football. It's an NGO based locally here in Erfurt. Can you describe for our listeners what your goal or your mission statement is?
Well, first of all, you said president. I always wanted to be president of something. And because no one made me president of something, I made myself president. So
congratulations.
Thank you. I think I've already said that, what this mission statement is. It, like when I was talking about football, the mission statement really is, it's using football. And maybe to go the kind of football that I described earlier, like the positive part of football, to bring people together.
Inclusivity of football.
It's the inclusive possibilities of football, and we have a set of fair play rules that govern. They're like the principles that govern all actions in Spirit of Football, both internally, how we communicate with each other as a team, as an organization, and how we work with people in schools, with children, with people outside of schools, with youth organizations and workshops, with refugees, with whoever we're dealing with. Those are our principles, and it's more than football. We have people that work for Spirit of Football who, if you ask them the question, do you like football? They would straight out say no. And that's about half of the people that work for Spirit of Football. So it's about football, but it's also not about football. It's about a ball, definitely. And this ball is like the symbol of connectivity. It's a symbol of, we say one ball, one world. And this ball is the philosophical base of Spirit of Football. It's the ethical base. It's this ball that travels around the world where everyone can sign their name on the ball. It doesn't matter if it's a president of a nation or a homeless person or a person with special needs, a Special Olympics athlete, a 97-year-old woman in Santiago in Chile in 2014. Everyone can sign their name on the ball and everyone can play. So it doesn't matter if you're in a wheelchair or not, you can play according to the rules, the framework of rules that we have at Spirit of Football. It's bringing people together. It's this idea that, hey, these borders that you see, that some guy with a twirly moustache and a long ruler and a pencil drew lines through Africa. That straight lines, and like that's a country and that's a different country, and so okay, but it doesn't actually matter where you come from. That we get educated into thinking certain ways about that, and nationalism, and I'm this way because where do you come from? Well, I come from New Zealand. You're a New Zealander. Am I really a New Zealander? I don't know. I would like to think of myself as an international citizen. I'm going on a bit of a rant right now, but spirit of football is it's a way of life. It's a set of rules that bring people together, that connect people, that that we should treat each other with respect. And if we do that, then our world can, at a micro level and maybe a macro level as well, can just be a bit better. We can smile at each other. We can compliment each other. And it's all too often in our world that we put people down, that we criticize, that we say, you can't do that, or you did that wrong, that was wrong. It's a mistake culture to tell people that they made mistakes. Why can't we then, if we're going to do that, can't we just also compliment people and say, hey, you did that really well. You look great today. You're, we can make people feel good by smiling and by being nice to each other. And I think that's the basis of spirit of football.
So it really is about taking those most positive elements from the game and applying them in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. There were two collaborators who had a particular impact, Christian Voch and Phil Wake, and you described them as two people who changed my life. Can you tell me more about how you met them and their project The Ball that you've mentioned?
We founded Spirit of Football me together with 6 other people in Erfurt in 2005, and we sat around and we had all these different names, and eventually it was Spirit of Football. That's the name of our organization. And then I Googled Spirit of Football and found these two guys, and found out that that was 2005, and they had already taken in 2002 the first ever The Ball. It's not just any ball, it's The Ball, football's Olympic torch, from the birthplace of football, where the first ever game of FA rules football was played on the 9th of January in 1864 in Battersea Park in London. They took this ball overland to the Football World Cup in 2002 in South Korea and Japan. And this journey that they went on was just incredible. And so simple. It was just a simple idea, and I just fell in love with this idea. And at the same time, we were planning to do education in Erfurt. So I just saw these two things come together. The ball and education was the perfect mix. So I think their philosophical idea is also the basis of everything that we're doing today. They're two people that just live and breathe the spirit of football, and just how that can transfer into life, into actions with people, and in life it's about really fairness and respect, listening before speaking, not preaching, but coming with showing, not telling. And I think that this is how that they've influenced me and our organization immensely.
So you take this physical football on a journey all across the world, and that's every 4 years for the World Cup, is that correct?
Yeah, and it's I have to say there is also to the Men's World Cup so far, so we haven't managed it, that there's been a ball to the Women's World Cup. So it's been every Men's World Cup since 2002, and they're such epic journeys sometimes that they take years to plan, and they're very complicated, and it's really a huge commitment and responsibility. But it's one special ball that is then kicked and headed and signed by thousands of people in various countries on the way. So in 2010, we traveled through 32 countries from London to South Africa. It's Africa's ball for Africa's World Cup, a durable, repairable ball, handmade in Africa, in Kenya. In 2014 was a ball that was handmade in a prison in Sao Paulo state in Brazil, a rehabilitation project. The ball was flown to London for kick-off and traveled back to Brazil for the World Cup through 25 countries over 6 months. This year it's fair trade ball that will be from our partners Derby Star, will be kicked off in London on the 25th of March, and will eventually make its way to Russia for the World Cup.
So how long will you follow the ball all across the world this year?
This year, 25th of March is the kickoff in London, and we actually have a much bigger team now. So we have the journey is planned in stages, and we have over 20 people who will be accompanying the ball in 4 at a time, and at the end of the journey will be the 7th of July in Moscow. So it's 100 and something days.
What happens?
So 3.5 months.
What happens to the ball afterwards?
Afterwards, the ball is, firstly, it's retired. So when the ball leaves Russia, no one else will sign it. And then it will be used in education. So we bring the balls when we can, and the stories of the ball, we translate them into interactive education so that people can learn the messages of inclusion, of, this journey focuses on different stories. In other World Cups, we've had Special Olympics as our main partner. This time it's about homelessness in Croatia. We're going to investigate Brexit a little bit in England. In Germany, we're going to visit we're going to have a 2-week tour where we visit up to 10 projects called Lernort-Stadion, so learning in stadiums, where the Bundesliga stadiums in Germany from top Bundesliga clubs are being used as learning centers. So we're going to have workshops there and check out this Lernort-Stadion project. We're going to be running workshops in a big refugee camp called Azraq, and another refugee camp, Zaatari, in Jordan. We're going to be working in Lebanon and Turkey with the GIZ, where we're going to have checking out integration of refugees. So you have Syrian refugees many Syrian refugees that have made their way to those countries, and also refugees from other places, and how the host communities are developing plans to deal with them, to integrate them. And we're going to be training people in our methods there so that they can use them once the ball has gone. And we're funded as well this time by the Robert Bosch Foundation, who are especially interested in Europe and football, how we can strengthen European democracy through football. And there's a big group of people sort of in the political middle that are leaning towards voting for an AfD kind of party, so a more right-wing political party. Europe is moving in a dangerous political direction where things are starting to break up in front of our eyes, and we want to find ways to investigate that and also to preach a good message of Europe, that Europe is this common Europe prevents war. Common Europe allows people to move around, to travel, have common currency often. There are many advantages that people just don't actually quite often see, and we want to have a look at that.
It's such a creative and interesting project. How could people become involved if they were wanting to? Are you looking for volunteers or donations for this?
Yeah, so if anyone wants to donate, you can visit our website, spirit-of-football.de or theball.tv. You could visit us on Facebook. Certainly we are always happy to take donations. The donations really for this project or for other projects that we do go towards building community, whether that's at a local level here in Erfurt or a more global level. We definitely need funding. We appreciate any help there. If anyone fancies getting involved and talking to us and seeing where and how you could help out. Then at a local level, volunteers, if anyone is in Erfurt, there's plenty of opportunity to get involved. Just get in contact with us and come by. Our office is in the Marktstraße, number 6, and we're more than happy to hear from you. And I think there's plenty of scope to get involved. Or if you happen to live in a country that is en route with the ball, in England, in Belgium, Germany, Poland, Austria, Croatia, Serbia, Kosovo, Bulgaria, Greece, Turkey, Jordan, Lebanon, Georgia, or Russia, then feel free to get in contact with us, and maybe you can connect with the ball and sign the ball, and tell your message, and figure out what we're doing in your country.
Zooming out for just a moment, what is your greatest aspiration for Spirited Football and One Ball, One World?
If you had asked me that 10 years ago, I would have said, to change the world with, that was this idea is also as a public policy student to think, I want to make the world better. And it's just not possible to make the world better, but I think you can make your little world a little bit better. And that's the idea, that I think that one can change things at a micro level, and that's what I'm aiming to do now these days with Spirit of Football. Micro change, to change, and also through education you can plant seeds in the minds of children, that can create something lasting with some of them.
And just before we wrap up here, do you have any advice for public policy students, for example, who are hoping to start their own NGO or nonprofit organization? What were your experiences like, and did you encounter any stumbling blocks along the way? Every
day are stumbling blocks. Every day is another challenge, I think, and another opportunity. Certainly, my advice would be look inside yourself. So figure out who you are, where your passion is, what you love to do. And if you can grasp that, then you can start to think, okay, what can I do that aligns to my drive, my passion, my philosophy? And then do something. You don't have to. You can find an organization that's already doing that sort of stuff, or you can try and create your own thing, which is very challenging. It's time-consuming. It's all-consuming. I don't know if it's for everybody. It's a lot of work. There are a lot of the daily challenges with that, but also a lot of rewards. But at the end of the day, I think you just have to be honest with yourself, and I can only say I think that when you leave this world, you don't leave with a car or I don't know, expensive pair of boots. It's maybe nice to have some material things, but I think at the end of the day, it's about the connections that you make with people, and maybe you have a chance to do good stuff, cool stuff. Just maybe keep that in mind, that earning lots of money and selling your soul for that is probably not really worthwhile.
Andrew Aris, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It was wonderful to learn more about both your personal story and the valuable work being done at Spirit of Football. Thank you. You can find out more about the show on the Bulletin blog page at thebulletin.brandtschool.de. That's thebulletin.brandtschool.de. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for future shows, feel free to contact us via the blog. Until next time, work hard and change the world.